I am very excited to introduce today's guest. Today's session will be recorded, so if you would like anyone else on your team or within your company to watch this session, it will be recorded. But today we have a very special guest. His name is Ajay Pondicherry. I have had the very wonderful pleasure of getting to know Ajay over the past year or maybe a couple of years now. He is the CEO and founder of Curb Hero and has a very rich background in product management and technology. And he founded Curb Hero several years ago. I think it was 2019. And they are a digital open house sign app that streamlines the lead capture and integrates seamlessly with several CRMs. I have here 3,000 CRMs. Is that the right number there?
Yeah.
CRM applications.
Yeah, pretty much. It's whatever Zapier integrates with, and plus our direct integration. So it's probably a little bit north of there now.
Awesome. And it helps agents save time and capture better quality leads. Today, AJ is specifically here to share insights on something that's really interesting to me that I didn't know you could do. He's sharing on two different topics: influencing ChatGPT to recommend your business, and tips for SEO. So, AJ, thank you for joining and sharing those tips and insights. Feel free to be on camera. We love for these to be interactive. Feel free to post questions in the chat throughout or ask questions. I will certainly be asking questions. AJ, I will let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Elena. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, so I'm the owner of Curb Hero. And today I'm not going to be talking specifically about Curb Hero. I will save a shameless plug towards the end. But yeah, Curb Hero, as Elena mentioned, the signature product is a digital open house sign-in. But as far as SEO goes, and I'll just start sharing my screen in a moment here. So as far as SEO, it's kind of interesting to see the evolution of SEO. Hopefully you can see my screen. Yeah, looks like it's there.
Yep.
So I want to talk about SEO, but beyond kind of like the traditional context of search engine optimization, and talk about it more around search everywhere optimization. Talk about how this, when framed like this, it does give you insight into how to influence ChatGPT results. It gives you influence into local SEO, social search, anything where there's a search engine on a digital platform, which is pretty much everything now. This can kind of give you some insight. And I've been able to actually use some of these tactics in my past businesses. So I started in e-commerce and also did quite a bit in affiliate marketing. These are both very heavy, like traditional SEO spaces. And then with Curb Hero, also heavily involved with SEO. I'd say over 50% of our users come from either SEO or App Store optimization. So that's like on the actual iOS App Store. But the majority of them actually come from Google. And then about 20% come from referrals that come from that Google and App Store user base. So we're talking over 70% of our users, and we're closing in on about 100,000 users right now. So it's been great for us because we're a bootstrap business and we don't have a lot of extra budget for marketing. So being able to reliably get users through SEO has helped us grow without having to spend a lot. And then my wife also has a mortgage business, and she's been using local SEO to really grow her business in a cost-effective way and not having to rely on heavy ad spend in her world. And so I'll touch a lot about local SEO because that is kind of its own beast. But just backing up a little bit, SEO has actually had its roots in a lot of digital transformation, even going back, 20 years ago. So almost every major industry that's been transformed by a significant player as kind of this transition to digital has happened over the last 20 years SEO has been a cornerstone marketing strategy. So like Zillow for real estate, Bankrate for mortgage, Amazon for retail, Canva for design, Zapier, HubSpot for productivity software. All of these are major SEO driven companies. And some of you may not even think of this as an SEO driven company. So that's kind of like why I think SEO is important. And the other thing is, I don't think a lot of real estate agents and teams are really tapping into SEO in the ways that they can in order to help their business. It does seem a little bit intimidating. I don't know, Elena, you talk to a lot of agents and teams. What is your kind of perspective on, is SEO on the radar as far as one of the marketing sources?
I'll let others chime in, but no, I mean, you hear about SEO, but it's very intimidating whenever you're going up against competitors like Zillow and Realtor.com that are spending, I'm sure, millions of dollars a year. And if there is someone that is competing against one of those giants, it's because they are a mega team that has the budget to back up SEO, and they're in it for the long game, and they have like a giant team behind them that they can pay for. But I'm curious if anyone can like post in the chat, have they ever invested time and or money and or outsourced to any efforts towards SEO anywhere? You can just say yes or no. Yeah, Dave's shaking his head no.
No. All right, well, good, because that means I think that there's a lot of opportunity here, because yes, SEO has all of those kind of intimidating factors, big budget, time, resources, all that stuff. But there are a couple little narrow wedges that I think teams and agents can take advantage of. And so that's what I hope to touch on. And again, when I talk about SEO, I'm not just talking about the front page of Google in that search box. I'm talking about local search, and I'm talking about social platforms. I'm talking about LLMs like ChatGPT. The world of SEO is really becoming widespread in a way that I don't think anyone would have guessed, 15 years ago. The interesting thing is that even ChatGPT, like Google, indexes the entire web. ChatGPT and LLMs like it, they basically have a infinite need for data to train its LLM. And it's not indiscriminately training on content on the web. It also has some kind of ranking function or algorithm that decides, hey, the content over here is better than the content over there. And how do you influence that? Well, that's the mechanics of influencing that algorithm is very similar to SEO. And just in this observation from our two businesses, Curb Hero, which is a software business, and then my wife's mortgage business, the more that we gain in SEO, the more often ChatGPT recommends us. And you can actually see when ChatGPT has referred you a user. It's tagged in the same kind of marketing referral tracking that kind of all referral sources have it. So if you look for the best open house app on ChatGPT, Curb Hero is going to come up. If you look for the best mortgage broker in Los Angeles, my wife's business, Aragon Lending, is going to come up. And the other thing is, what's interesting is even the social networks are getting in on the LLM game. Every one of those social networks below either has their own ChatGPT competitor or is closely affiliated with one. So the data landscape is just getting so kind of, there's so many crossovers between this data that's being kind of shared and shown in search engines. Cool. So yeah. So I wanted to talk really quickly about what Elena said when it comes to the kind of like the intimidation factor. Let's see if I can get my slides to work here though. There we go. So the intimidation factor with SEO is real. I've been there. I know that it's kind of a slog in the beginning. It's really hard in SEO to start seeing some results. And then, by the way, I'm going to get into in a couple slides just some hacks that you don't have to worry about, kind of like this uphill climb to seeing SEO results. So there are a couple quick hacks in there, especially on the local search side, which I think is the kind of wedge of SEO that's most effective for real estate agents and teams. But as far as just kind of like the traditional, I'm writing a blog post and I have an idea of which keywords I want it to rank for, and I'm going to make sure it looks perfect and the punctuation and the spelling is all dialed in and the images are perfect, and you proofread it and you send it to your friend and you have them proofread it, and then you hit publish, and then you then start Googling for the keyword you hoped it could rank for, and nothing shows up. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'm on page 2, and then you're not on page 2. And then you go all the way down to like page 10 and you're still not there. Like, that's how the SEO journey starts. Unfortunately, it takes months sometimes. If you're brand new, if your website's brand new and it doesn't have any kind of track record or reputation behind it, it can take months to even rank. And when you do rank, you're not on page 1, you're like on page 20. And it can be kind of discouraging. And that's why a lot of folks don't stick it out. And that's why it's pretty expensive to be on that journey. You have to outsource it to an agency, or you have to kind of have people on your team that's writing this content. And it feels pretty thankless in the early days because you're not seeing those results. But the cool thing is if you stick it out over time, you will start seeing those results. And after a while, you'll see, hey, instead of it taking months, because it can actually take months in the beginning to rank a page, you'll see it ranking in maybe a month, and then maybe a week. And instead of it starting on page 20, maybe you're starting on page 5, and then page 2. And just like those results were hard to get, the best thing about SEO is they're also hard to lose. You don't lose your ranking overnight. And that's the big differentiator between paid sources of traffic, paid leads, and free leads that come through SEO, is that as soon as you run out of budget or you stop paying the lead provider, your leads go to zero effectively. But with SEO, it's hard to lose those results. What it takes is somebody in the eyes of a Google or ChatGPT's algorithm to basically create a better piece of content to rank themselves. And that doesn't happen often. And you can also defend against it by updating your content. So that is the beauty of SEO. It allows you, and other free sources of business, like, open houses and referrals and repeat business, repeat clients. They allow you to take part of your business and say, I'm not going to necessarily be committed to this hamster wheel of the paid lead sources. And I'm not here to say don't do any paid lead sources, but there, as you kind of are differentiated away from paid lead sources, there is more resiliency in the business. And that can be, pretty freeing. And if anything, it can kind of lower your stress level a little bit.
So AJ, a question for you, and others, feel free to please chime in and ask questions too in the chat or unmute. Whenever you're talking about like ranking a page or anything like that, are you talking about, like, I've seen people just like dump like hundreds of keywords into a page, and then the page is just like terrible, but then maybe it works because the page is just somewhere within the first 10 pages, or they'll dump a bunch of keywords, but then they'll make the text white. And so they just have a bunch of what appears to be a bunch of white space, but then you highlight it and you'll see, oh, they're just hiding the text. Or does this mean like you're just completely like continuing to pump out like tons and tons of web pages that are searchable? Like, what exactly does this mean for someone to be able to rank?
Yeah, so I love the first two examples because that just reminds me of like old school SEO like hacks and stuff like that at one time did work. So like SEO is, in a lot of ways, it's a cat and mouse game, because for the longest time, and maybe arguably even today, Google is the gateway to the internet. So if you can find a way to get your results in Google higher, it can be transformative to a business. I mean, Amazon, Zillow, all of these companies, they found a way to do that, and their business, benefited greatly. So there's always going to be people that try and do that. What was, Elena, the first two examples are what's called keyword stuffing, where you're just trying to stuff as many keywords in there and you try and hide it so it doesn't like affect the user experience, but Google's still seeing those keywords. And so now, Google has defended against it. And it's this cat and mouse game where essentially Google wants to preserve the user experience and give people the information that they came to Google to find. And this, you can kind of switch Google for ChatGPT too, because the same dynamic is happening. And so they've found different ways. So like for quite some time now, links have been thought to, backlinks have been said to be like what really drives someone's ranking higher. So the more links pointing to your web page, especially if they're coming from a reputable web page, it'll boost you in the rankings. And this kind of goes back to actually Google's roots, because they started as a PhD project. And in that project, it was actually, here's a quick screenshot of the two founders, I believe, in their lab or in someone's garage when they first created it. This is like, they took the approach that academics use to like, how do you know which articles are the most reputable? It's the ones that are being cited by other academic journals. And they just said, okay, well, that's how the internet should be sorted. And they said, the more kind of links back to your page, these are citations, and that's how we're going to know you to boost you up. But now to your question, Elena, it's less about just links or stuffing the page with keywords. It's about these soft signals that Google has made the worst acronym forever, and it's called EEAT or EAT, which basically stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, which to me, like just layman terms, it just all sums up to trust. Is your brand, is your website, is your business, are you trustworthy? And what is trust? Trust is this subjective thing. And there's all these soft signals now, because remember, Google and LLMs now have basically indexed and sorted and ranked the entire internet. It's crazy to think of, but they have. And they can now connect the dots. And there's ways that I'll get into in a couple slides on how to help them connect the dots between, hey, this web page is for Power Real Estate. And Power Real Estate is comprised of these agents. These agents have these social profiles. We can measure the engagement on these social profiles. We're going to attribute some of that engagement back to Power Real Estate. Those dots have been connected. And so now it's less about stuffing the page with keywords or just finding ways to get as many links back to your page. And it's about sending out these softer trust signals. And so I'll kind of cover a little bit of that.
And AJ, if I could drop in, that's one of the things that we try to do at Power is, and I literally have Jazz and Sunny and a bunch of other our team members on here right now, is because as we're doing open houses, as we're doing more things, I'm really trying to get them to push content that fits in the experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and the trustworthiness, and then having that on one landing mega opportunity, because all of those leads, we're Zillow Flex. We're on the advisory board, so like we see both sides, and for us it's like that cost is crazy, and if we can help them continue to build a indestructible business through this, I think it's going to help them. Are we kind of moving in the right direction, would you say, by having them focus on this type of content and this type of, and then landing it in one mega spot, and then having those leads and opportunities come back and then filter through them on that side?
Yeah. SEO is really the game of making valuable content that can get engagement. And I think like in the early days, it was keywords were the content, but now it's like the content is images and video, and the content's not on your website, it's on your socials, and kind of that whole web that seems like you're creating, that seems like it's, to the extent you believe these EAT signals, it seems like it's kind of touching on all of those signals right there.
I know I'm getting kind of granular here, but when you say like video, does Google or any of these platforms prefer a specific video platform? Like, does it matter if it's YouTube or Instagram posted and embedded on there? Like,
so I don't have any kind of like inside knowledge of the inner workings, but my assumption would be YouTube, because Google has full visibility into that platform. And with like Facebook and Instagram, it doesn't have full visibility. And plus, for a long time, I don't know if this is still the case, but Facebook, or at least Instagram, kind of de-indexed their pages so Google couldn't get insight into it. I think that there are still ways that Google can kind of associate a Instagram page that gets a ton of positive engagement back with the website and the business. But it's like, I think LinkedIn is a more kind of publicly available platform, and Google has probably stronger connections into that. Twitter, or now X, also kind of falls into that bucket, but definitely YouTube.
makes sense.
Cool. And then, yeah, anybody else jump in with questions, but I was also just going to mention the local side, because I think this is where it gets really interesting. So unfortunate as it is, if you get a new listing and you're marketing the crap out of it, and then you Google that listing, your website is not going to be number one for it. Zillow is, and there's, all the other typical players like Realtor.com are going to be 1, 2, and 3. And that's just the way it is. They've invested, like Elena mentioned, a ton into SEO. But when there's the map result, which is called local SEO, that's where Zillow can't compete. You're not going to see Zillow in those results. This is where it's all about your real estate business. And so local SEO is a completely different beast. And so I think that's kind of the first stop on any real estate agent or team's SEO journey. It's not to do the kind of like traditional SEO where you're writing blog posts, I think that there's definitely a good place for that. But just kind of table stakes, make sure your local search is kind of on point, and I'll kind of just go through that real quick. And then Elena, do you, and Jeffrey and others, you guys kind of see that at least the local business page, that's kind of table stakes for a lot of, I know that you have a lot of clients that are kind of treating this stuff with a lot of importance. Do you see that's kind of common?
For us, yeah. What we're doing with the agents is like we're trying to create a master machine. So we want them to, get that Zillow review, but get that Google review as well. Because we're now getting, I had to put a morning VA and a evening VA in to start filtering calls. I think Sonny might be on this call. He's already closed on 1 or 2 clients that have called in from Zillow on one of our office properties. They didn't end up buying that property, but the inquiries are coming in. We're getting listing opportunities from that. So we're trying to put everything on Google. And then also we're launching the Yelp page push probably like a month or 2 bandwidth wise. But we're going to want that to, try to get all the reviews coming down that side to build the presence across the board. Yeah, definitely good tactic to try and get your reviewers to review you in multiple places. To you don't want to annoy them, but if you think that they're open to it, trying to get that is great. And so real quick on Yelp. So depending on your market, Yelp may or may not have a ton of influence, but here are some super quick hacks for Yelp. One, and this is my wife's business. So if you search mortgage brokers in Los Angeles, she'll be number 1. And Yelp, at least for mortgage, it can, there a lot of her competitors are spending over 10 grand a month just on Yelp paid. And so this is kind of like prize territory. So here are the hacks. One is, you see that play button on the profile photo? That's photoshopped in or Canva'd in. It's not a real play button. It's just an overlay. And why do we do that? That's a pattern interrupt. She's the only person in the entire list of results that has a play button. She gets a higher click-through because of that. And Yelp prioritizes businesses that get more engagement, and click-through is a major engagement signal. So that's a super easy one. That'll work until everybody picks up on this tactic, and then it won't work anymore. Then
right. We only have 17 people here, so I think we're okay right now.
We're okay. Yeah. And then after that, you might need to be the one without the play button. I don't know. The other one is response time. So Jeff, you mentioned having VAs. So like this is one where if you have a VA, this is definitely something I would think about as far as a process. So it's kind of like you backing into what Yelp's goal is. Yelp's goal is to connect consumers with local businesses, because consumers have things they need local businesses to do. And one of the there's time sensitivity in a lot of these consumer needs. So Yelp, they display the response time because they know that people want a quicker response. And so the more you can get that response time down, and so like for Aragon Lending, it's 40 minutes. It actually, at most of the time, it's sub 10 minutes. And you'll see on the first page of any kind of like competitive search term, all the first page results have like sub 1 hour response time. And so, yeah.
What we went ahead and did, right? We are putting in like a call action number that comes into the system that now that I am going to have all their information when they call in, right? It's going into our follow-up boss. From there, it's going in and it's hitting a group of agents, right? Or a group of admin or a group of VAs that is increasing the opportunity for one of them to be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
And now they understand that when it pops up on their computer screen, they're seeing, oh, this came from Google, and they have a they know what to say and what to do to say, all right, fantastic. Let me get a little bit of information about what you're looking for, or you're looking to possibly sell your home here in the Anaheim area. That's fantastic. Here's what I want to do. Is it okay if I get you in contact with one of our preferred local agents right now? And that's when they're saying, yeah, of course, cool. And then we click a button, and then we do it again, and we send it over to another group. And that group is where it's going to be the agents at that point. So whoever picks it up, it's like, hey, Elena, This is Jeffrey McGonigal. I have AJ on the line. He called in through Google. He's looking to possibly get a little bit of information about what his home might be worth. Do you have 15 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes to kind of go over that with him? Agents are like, yeah, what? Yeah, I'm down. So if you're a small agent, just cut out the 2 steps and just have a 1-step process, and it filters through, and it works amazing for us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, if you don't have something like call action, you can do that natively too in Follow Boss with like team inboxes. You just have like a different phone number for every source, and that's what I recommend too. So like you said, Jeff, you know exactly why someone's calling or where they're coming from. You can have one phone number for Yelp, one phone number for Google, one phone number for Zillow, one phone number for everything. And then the caller ID says in your team inbox, Zillow, Yelp, Google, and then the team inbox rings everyone that has access, and then they see it on their caller ID, and then whoever picks it up gets it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and the idea of kind of having the VA or some kind of operator that's doing the first point of contact, that gets your response time higher, because you may not be able to guarantee your agent will be ready to take that inquiry right then and there. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds.
Yep.
And Angie, to answer your question earlier, you had asked about like getting reviews and how you prioritize. We go through seasons, because as much as you want people to click to write a review on multiple places, it just doesn't happen. People just click on one and then write the review. And most of the time they click on the first one they see, even though we're like putting multiple links. So at first we were prioritizing Facebook, and then we got like 90 reviews there, but we only had like 5 on Google because it was our second link. So then we just switched the order. We put Google on top, and now we've got 77 there. So we just keep flip-flopping, and we prioritize, and we just make sure that we're refreshing to ensure that we have newer reviews added every now and then. So that's what a lot of our clients do, is they just continue to flip-flop what reviews are shown on top or bottom. And I was on a call, I think it was even maybe Dave that said it. I was on another call that I was asking about like a platform like Rate My Agent, where people will go through the survey and they'll write a nice thing, but then 50% of the people who write a nice thing don't take the extra click to post it on the multi-review sites. So it's not really worth it for a platform like that to have like the one-click easy push to all the platforms, because a lot of people who do have a great thing to say about you don't take the extra step to post on multiple sites. So we just kind of flip-flop the order that we ask for people to post.
Yeah, I love that, prioritizing it depending on what's important. And the other thing is, if you see that they have a Gmail, then consider routing them to the Google My Business. And if they don't have a Gmail, then consider what your next most important local listing is. There
you go. Or if you're even more detailed than I am, if you know, like you're friends with them on Facebook, ask for them on Facebook. If their original lead source was Zillow, then ask for them on Zillow or whatever.
Perfect. Yep. How are we doing on time? I think we're kind of up against it, aren't we?
Yeah, well, normally these calls run like 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then, yeah, the other hack is on Google My Business, and that is just picking your business location. So there's kind of limited flexibility here, but there could be some. So just kind of considering, with Google My Business, and by the way, Bing also has a local listing, and you kind of don't hear Bing mentioned that much, but with ChatGPT and Microsoft being so connected, you can kind of see a world where ChatGPT starts prioritizing Bing results a little bit more than Google. And Bing has local search, and the whole like verification process of your address, that's all a separate thing on Bing. So maybe worth kind of checking that out, especially if you know that others in your market aren't. You can kind of zig when everyone else is zagging. But yeah, just picking that address, and you want to pick something that's central. So like for our mortgage business, we were living in Santa Monica, and it was kind of in a rough spot in terms of like consumers, because the way that most people find your business in the local search, it's not necessarily saying real estate in Santa Monica or mortgage broker in Santa Monica. A lot of times it's just them saying real estate agent near me. And Google's saying where are they located, and then deciding which businesses have a radius that includes where that consumer is. So you want to find out, where should my business be geolocated in Google's My Business kind of world. And you can't just pick an address on the map, because you do need to verify it. But you do have a couple options. You could verify the address that you live, that your actual office is located. Maybe it's where your broker's office is. Maybe it's a partner on the team and where they live. and kind of picking between all those different options to decide, okay, which is the most central to where my kind of typical or ideal consumer would be, and then verifying the address there. And I believe it's still possible, but you can use a mailbox too. And so we've done that in the past. I don't think co-working spaces work anymore. Sometimes they can get, the verification doesn't work then. All right. Let's go into something more medium term. So we talked about reviews. So when we talk about, when I mentioned that EEAT acronym that I hate, I just think about trust when I see that. Like, how do you amp up the trust signal from your business, from your website? A lot of it is reviews. And so, like Jeff mentioned, he has a process, and Elena mentioned a lot of her clients have this process around collecting reviews. It's also good to have a process around storing those reviews. It can be used for all kinds of different things. You can repurpose them on social. You can post graphics and videos to reviews. For Curb Hero and Aragon Lending, we use this platform called Senja. And all it does is it actually syncs to a lot of different review sites like Zillow and Facebook and Reddit. And I think they have like 20 at this point. You can also manually add your reviews. You can also send potential reviewers a link to give you a video review. And then they allow you to kind of create widgets that you can publish on your website, and they look really slick on your website, or you can kind of create social graphics. And I think there's probably, a dozen other solutions like that, but Senja is a good one. And this is kind of a more medium-term project, so I'm not saying, everyone's got bandwidth to do it, but if reviews are important, especially as they exhibit that trust signal, this is something we're checking out. And if you do check that out and you do it, here's another little benefit to making sure your reviews are on your site. So absolutely, I recommend putting past client reviews on your website. It's great for just kind of, you want everyone to believe what you say, but chances are they're going to believe what somebody else says about you much more. And when you have those signals on your site, you can send this to your web person. If you have a webmaster like in the 90s, send it to them. There's something called review markup. And if in your website, you're marking up those reviews properly, then the review rating and the number of reviews will actually show in your Google result. And it's that pattern interrupt again. If an entire page doesn't have that, all other things being equal, and your business has those ratings, chances are you're going to get more people clicking through to you. So that's another little trick. And then on the topic of markup, which is, it may seem too technical, but chances are your IT person, your web person knows exactly what it is what Google calls author markup. And this is one of those other things that's also helpful in getting surfaced on the LLMs like ChatGPT, is helping these search engines, I'm using that in quotes, connect the dots. If you tell in your website content that a certain author wrote a blog post or wrote a certain page on the site, you can actually include the author's social information. And now you're kind of sending all the search engines into this other direction to say, hey, let's check out their social profile and see if there's positive engagement there. And that could amp up that trust, amping up the prevalence of your business in either ChatGPT, Google, local search, et cetera.
AJ, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm on your website right now, and you have a section on there that's, do you mind if I share?
Oh, yeah.
You have a section that's like shout outs, and I thought it just looked really cool. Are you like automatically pulling these from your review sites, or do you have someone like manually pulling these in?
So this is something, Senja, the product I mentioned earlier, has a version of this, but we built this into our website before using Senja. So this is done using Airtable. If anyone's used Airtable before, pretty much our site, which is built on WordPress, has an integration with Airtable. And whenever there's a new review, there's a VA who pretty much goes in and says, here's the review, let's look up a good photo, let's look up the social profiles, let's look up a logo, sends it into Airtable, and then immediately that shows up on our site. And this is when, in my last slide, how I showed that little review markup where it showed 5 stars, 18 reviews. This comes directly from these shout outs.
Cool.
Yeah, so, and there's tons of resources on like how to get those dots connected. It's just called review markup.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're running up on time. You think there's anything else I should just quickly cover? Because everything else that I had was kind of like long-term projects and maybe not the best fit for right now. I'm sure everyone's super busy.
No, this was already like loaded with so much knowledge. So I really appreciate all the shares. Yeah, it was super helpful. I really appreciate all of your
Someone in the chat just asked, is there a part 2? When are you coming back?
Yeah, we could take part 2 and do like the longer term projects. There's some cool stuff in there, especially if you kind of want to try out that journey. And maybe we can get a little bit more technical into some of this if people want to dive into like actually how to build it out and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
Let's
Yeah,
do it. Let's go.
There we go. Cool. In the meantime, for those who are curious, I'm just going to take over screen share one more time. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, AJ.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't want to hijack, but yeah, just, in the interest of getting, more free sources of business, free marketing, I would encourage anyone who's doing a lot of open houses or is part of a team that does a lot of open houses to try Curb Hero. It's free for agents and I would say budget friendly for teams as well. We have 30-day free trial, apps for pretty much every platform out there too. And I'm really accessible. So you can use that email to contact me if you have any questions about the app, and our average response time to any support message is under 15 minutes.
There you go. Talking about responsiveness right there.
Let's go. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Cool. So to take over screen share real fast, if you're not a part of the community, make sure you scan this QR code for upcoming, it's a little bit small, for upcoming events. These are our most upcoming events. So we have a few coming up next week on team culture, recruiting, retention with Chelsea Dillick. She's a team lead. Using Zapier as a lead sweeper and follow boss accountability and creating Google ads. So make sure you scan that QR code. All of these sessions are live and free, and we'll also be posting the recording to this session there. I'll give you all a second to scan that QR code, and then I've got one other one to share with you below. We also just have like a central hub, in case y'all didn't know, it's called the Growth Hub, where we have this a little bit more organized than a Facebook group allows us to organize all of these sessions. So we have all of our previous recorded sessions in a place called the Growth Hub, where you can access all of our sessions, and they're categorized depending on what most interests you. So we have like our latest sessions, our top rated sessions specific to marketing, operations, tech, and CRM, all of them on demand, all of them free. So if you wanted to geek out, scan that QR code, and AJ's will also be posted there too in that library. So scan that QR code. We'll get with AJ to schedule a part 2. AJ, thank you for joining. Everyone else, thank you for joining. And definitely check out Curb Hero. I'm a super fan of Curb Hero because of all of the amazing features it has within the product, and their CRM integrations. It's just an awesome tool. But thank you all so much.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.